For my Meetup project, I joined the group Build with Code West Coast. There's a screenshot of the meeting, a URL link. Now, the lecture was called Intro to Coding, the Ingredients of JavaScript. It was held virtually on Zoom, held on April 1st, 4:30 to 7:30 p.m. Now, the host listed on the meetup.com link was named Claudia F. However, it was Eric DiMarzio who actually held the interactive Java workshop for the duration of the meeting. Eric is a software developer and instructor of the coding bootcamp Codesmith. In fact, he was even a graduate of this camp, and upon graduating, he was hired by the same bootcamp in order to instruct others on how to code. In this meeting, there's a live interactive workshop for learning JavaScript. Now, this was part two to a series of JavaScript workshop, a beginner course defining what arrays and functions were and how to create them in JavaScript code. A student in the meeting asked if it was similar to a for loop, so I'm guessing that in part one of this workshop they were taught loops. The workshop allowed for people to also code on their own computers, following the tutorial or just watching the lecture. But before the JavaScript portion of the workshop, the host spoke about Codesmith, which was a coding bootcamp that one could take to get assistance in finding a job in CS, as 80% of the graduates were hired within 360 days. The instructor for the workshop was named Eric DiMarzio, and he was a graduate of that same coding bootcamp, Codesmith. He was advertising for almost the first half of the lecture. I might join, honestly. He mentioned that the job market was tough, so I asked how likely it is to get a remote job in CS. His response was honest but motivating. He told me that it's very possible to get a remote job, but it's very unlikely that it would be my first job in CS straight out of college. I also asked if JavaScript was derived from Java, or at least similar to it. But he stated it was only similar on the surface, but in terms of function, it was more like Python or even Ruby, since they are dynamically typed languages, and Java isn't. I thought the workshop was very informative and went at a slow and steady pace for everyone. Computer science is not at all an easy concept to learn, I know firsthand. So, for the workshop to have taken the time to ask the attendees how well they are digesting the content is very commendable. I learned a bit on how to code in JavaScript. However, I already knew what arrays and functions were. I would have appreciated this meeting if it was available back when I started coding. I joined this group again. I'm considering signing up for their coding bootcamp, honestly. Now, the CSU East Bay meeting was called Express.js and Firebase. Express.js and Firebase held March 28th from 3 to 4 p.m. Express.js and Firebase was hosted by Ranjiro Gunawan. Ranjiro gave an introductory course on how to build applications through the use of Express.js and Firebase, which was a Node.js framework which facilitates the building of APIs and servers with the clear routing which is necessary for APIs. Firebase is a background service made by Google. It stores user data, authenticated, and gives real-time updates. After walking through how to structure an Express server, he transitioned to Firebase. Through the use of Firestone, he demonstrated how Firebase can manage user authentication and real-time data storage. He showed how Express.js and Firebase could be integrated to build scalable applications without the need for server management. The session was a lot less hands-on when it came to writing code. His clear examples made it very easy to follow, though. His session was very informative and very easy for even a beginner like me to comprehend. This is the Stack Overflow slide. So my question was, do design patterns have classes within them? Is that all they are? What makes a design pattern? And if someone could explain to me what the facade class is, what the facade design pattern is. The reason I ask is because I'm currently taking CS 401 software engineering, and I had a similar question on my midterm. I was given this as a topic to study for my midterm exam. It was on a facade design pattern, which I learned how to code, but I couldn't define very well. From the Stack Overflow answer, I learned that aside from encapsulating a bunch of classes in order for them all to perform a task in the facade shields the client from having to deal with the subclasses and making future modifications to the facade class easier later on. I didn't know why we make a facade in the first place, which is why that answer helped. Now, this is the GitHub. GitHub is a platform that allows for collaboration on software projects, usually in the workplace. Projects will comprise of teams, and GitHub will allow every member to push or save their projects onto the platform. Their or their code and its changes can be tracked using Git. These are the screenshots for each of the cards for the issue, which comprises of each card being each slide for or each category of slides in this Meetup project. This is the ChatGPT session screenshots. There are a lot more of them than there were Stack Overflow screenshots. And both the Stack Overflow answer and the ChatGPT answer agree that the facade design pattern simplifies a complex system of classes by using a single yet simple interface. Both state that while the use of classes is normal for a facade, it is their structure and purpose. That is what makes a facade a design pattern. The Stack Overflow answer differs by adding 2 points, being to not misuse the facade design pattern, to only apply them when they truly fit the problem. That pattern recognition and knowing when to use the facade design pattern is as important as knowing how to use them. The ChatGPT answer differed by providing a coded example of a facade, whereas the Stack Overflow did not. Person's human versus AI, fair enough. As Stack Overflow gave only a conceptual answer and did not provide any coding example of facade pattern or any practical example, just strictly theoretical. Thank you for listening to my project. Like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you.